Hi, I'm Gary Sager. Thank you for this invitation to share a few thoughts with you. The children of America really depend on your journalistic excellence. Please ask follow-up questions. You do your audience, your profession, and society a grave disservice when you behave as stenographers rather than journalists, and you merely reprint press releases by policy leaders. Demand evidence to support new policies or practices. Ask a follow-up question. Check references. How can you declare Paul Vallas the savior of the New Orleans public schools, and then 2 minutes later do a follow-up piece on the disastrous Philadelphia public schools, or the problems in Chicago, when Paul Vallas just recently led both of those systems? Why do you allow Arne Duncan to bring the success of Chicago to our nation's schools when he freely admits that the Chicago public schools are violent and dysfunctional? How is it possible that Broussard is qualified to be in charge of the Chicago public schools when in his previous job as the superintendent of the Rochester, New York public schools, his district had among the lowest test scores in the state of New York, and he suffered an overwhelming no-confidence vote by the teachers in his employ? As Deep Throat of Watergate fame taught us, we should follow the money. Who stands to profit from union busting, endless standardized testing, or replacing teachers with YouTube videos? Are the same 2 or 3 billionaire mischief makers behind all of the popular education reform issues being advanced by the media these days? What is Bill Gates' labor record? How did Waiting for Superman stay in theaters for months when no one was going to see it? Jackass 3D sold more tickets on opening night than Waiting for Superman did in its entire theatrical run. Who funded NBC's Education Nation, and why? Did the Huffington Post start an education section merely to promote Waiting for Superman? Why did a federally indicted Swiss bank, UBS, fund then New York Chancellor Joel Klein's trip across Australia? How does his new employer, Rupert Murdoch, stand to profit from his connections to the New York City public schools? Follow the money. Ask yourself a simple question. Would you send your own child to the sorts of schools that your publications rave about? Would billionaires like Eli Broad or Bill Gates send their own children, or a child they love and care about, to the sorts of obedient schools that they advocate for other people's children, primarily children of color and of lower income? Bill Gates says he has a great idea to videotape the nation's great teachers and share what great teaching looks like with other teachers. Well, if that's such a great idea, why doesn't he send a camera crew into the classrooms of his children's teachers? I bet you there's some great teaching there that we can all learn from. We really need to stand up for democracy. I've heard it reported that there are 99% fewer elected school board members in the United States today than there were a century ago. The cure for bad democracy is more democracy. Mayoral control, Common Core curricula, and other heavy-handed authoritarian practices have no place in the United States. How do we expect to have parental involvement in our schools when we've denied parents any voice in the democratic process of running our public schools? Do your homework and read. Recognize that we stand on the shoulders of giants, that there's great literature available that explains that every problem in education has been solved somewhere before, and we can learn from the lessons of history. Don't be bamboozled. Does that charter school you're profiling and so breathlessly reporting about spend $500,000 each year on PR? Is there really such a pandemic of bad teaching in society, or is this just a myth that profits certain forces? Why are we teaching algebra in utero? Have you noticed that every year kids take algebra a year younger? Is it producing any greater mathematical ability in the population? And have you read CNN education expert Steve Perry's doctoral dissertation? I'm sure you'd find it quite entertaining. How did unqualified become the new qualified? Do you really believe that 22-year-old interns with missionary zeal are a reasonable alternative to a professional educator, especially in our nation's toughest public schools? Why are our nation's largest school systems being run by people with little or no educational qualifications whatsoever? And why does the media want us to believe that John Legend is the nation's leading authority on education? Do we all just take marching orders from Oprah?